There is a definite connection in Birnbaum's mind between the new circumstances that permitted Jewish self-defense and Jewish self-government, Jewish autonomy in Eastern Europe, and the rise of modern Yiddish culture. It is a capacity to adapt the new to one's own needs. Western European Jews remained focused on a shell, a hollow shell of Judaism. Prayer that was not fervent, that was not soulful. Eastern European Jews were much more joyous in their prayer, but they were joyous in everything else that they did. They were joyous in their self-defense. They were joyous in their theater. They were joyous in their love of their own literature. They were joyous in their love of their own mother tongue. They were joyous in the creation of their mother tongue and raising it to the heights of modern European literary standards. They were really a model to the Jewish future. And the thrilling tale of the rise of modern Jewish culture, modern Yiddish culture, also includes the thrilling tale of the cultivation of Hebrew, which comes from Eastern European sources. The cultivation of Hebrew also has to be done in a slow, methodical fashion, in a fashion that does not remove the language from the inspiration of its native sources. A Hebrew encyclopedia is coming into being at that time. Modern Hebrew writings are coming into being at that time. All of them under Eastern European auspices. There is no exaggeration in Birnbaum's mind of the leading function of the Eastern European Jew in modern Jewish existence. Of course, Hebrew will become spoken after a while, he believes. It may not become spoken in the West to any large extent ever, or to any large extent in the next century, because the circumstances for the birth of a language which are present when Jews are withdrawn from the surrounding environment and have few of any pressures from the outside world upon them will not be repeated outside of Palestine. And therefore it will be a very slow process for Hebrew to disperse into the diaspora as a spoken language. Meanwhile, the opposition to Yiddish must be coped with. The totally false, negative self-view that Yiddish is dead, that Yiddish is a dialect, that Yiddish is not beautiful, all of which are judgments rendered out of bias. There's no more dead nor ugly than any other spoken language. The view that the vernaculars are ugly is very old in Europe, because they're all being judged against Latin or Greek or Hebrew. And of course they were unable to withstand that kind of competition for centuries until they moved ahead into their own maturity. So the negative view of Jewish languages is a result of negative Western European Jews of themselves. And as this negativity is overcome, as Europe recognizes the worth of Yiddish literature, Yiddish writers will win international prizes, international recognition. Yiddish theater will become one of the major creative aspects of the theater world of the West. the whole view of Yiddish will change. The whole reputation of it will change. The whole essence of it will change. It will be standardized. Its spelling will be regularized. Its grammar will be regularized. All these things had to be accomplished for English too. We all know the extent to which Anglo-Saxon and Middle English are different than modern English. The fact that we can't read Shakespeare today because that's not the English that we speak today. English had to be re-standardized for us to be able to have worldwide English literature on a different basis than that on which Shakespeare wrote. So he recognizes that this is coming for Yiddish too, as it has come. And he urges his listeners, who are, by the way, his former students, and large extent his listeners were his former students in Vienna of previous years, where he had taught them courses in Judaism, and where he had organized the first Yiddish students organization. They came to hear him again in Chernowitz. And he's urging them to return to some of the ideas that he must have given them earlier, to call a conference on behalf of Yiddish, a world conference, so that activists from throughout the world could come together and pledge their lives to the task of building a language that unified the people and lifted into modern Jewish life, of lifting, as he calls, the societal status of Yiddish, the societal status as a high culture language, changing a language of everyday life into a language of high status functions is a difficult thing. It takes time. But all modern languages have gone through that development. They all started off as folk peasant languages and had to be worked upon to attract a middle class, to attract an intelligentsia, and to become what they are in terms of modern day French, English, Spanish, and so forth. Different movements other than the Zionist idea will have to contribute to this. The bourgeois movement will have to contribute to that. Bourgeois modernization of industry and commerce. The proletariat movement will have to contribute to this. Hebrew will contribute to this too, because the Hebrew component in Yiddish is part of its strength, just as part of the strength of Hebrew in the future will be the folksiness, the naturalness that Yiddish can give it. Yiddish is the greatest asset that Hebrew has going for it to begin with, because Jews are already accustomed to speaking their own language, which in the case of other language movements was not the case. Yiddish requires both internal recognition and external recognition. External recognition will require Yiddish schools. External recognition will require subsidies for Yiddish writers and artists. Yiddish is not only a language, he says it is a way of life. It stands for the Eastern European way of life, of full-blooded, daily, modern, innovative, constantly innovative, not merely repeating ideas from past centuries, but not losing those ideas either. It is a way of life, and therefore is an opportunity not just to mechanically construct the homeland, not just to mechanically construct the language, but to find a new way of life